Every child knows the magic of Santa Claus, the endless giver of joy. But in Santa's Hidden Christmas Wish, we explore a truth no one ever considered. Everyone believed Santa Claus existed for one reason only: to give, to deliver joy, hope, and magic to the world. One gift, one night, every year. At the North Pole, the workshop glowed brighter than ever. Snow sparkled like diamonds under lantern light. Elves hurried back and forth, laughing, singing, calling out toy counts and wrapping numbers. Everything was perfect. Too perfect. Santa stood at the center of it all, his red coat warm, his list complete, his beard neatly brushed. And yet, he felt tired in a way no sleep could fix. It started quietly. Santa noticed he no longer listened to the laughter the way he used to. The songs blended into noise. The magic hummed, steady but distant, like music from another room. One night, after the elves had gone to bed, Santa sat alone by the fire. He stared at the flames without seeing them. The fire crackled softly, but gave no answer. Mrs. Claus noticed the change before anyone else. She always did. "You've been quieter," she said one evening, pouring him a cup of hot cocoa. Not sad, just far away. Santa offered a familiar smile. "Just thinking." Mrs. Claus studied him carefully. "Thinking can be lonely." The letters arrived by the thousands, as they always did. Santa read every one. Wishes for toys, wishes for pets, wishes for family, for peace, for someone to come home. He granted as many as magic allowed. But each time he folded a letter, a strange thought returned. They all need Christmas. And then, quieter. So why do I feel like I'm standing outside of it? One evening, Santa opened a letter that stopped his breath. The handwriting was shaky, careful. "Dear Santa, I hope you don't forget to take care of yourself. Everyone always talks about what you give us, but who gives Christmas to you?" Santa stared at the page for a long time. No signature, no return address, just a question he had never dared to ask himself. That night, Santa dreamed. Not of sleighs or stars or chimneys. He dreamed of sitting alone in a quiet room, watching Christmas pass by outside the window, lights glowing, laughter drifting away, joy moving on without him. He woke with a start, his heart heavy. "I think," he said softly to the empty room, "I've forgotten something important." The next morning, Santa did something unexpected. He closed the workshop early. The elves froze. "Santa?" one asked. "We're ahead of schedule, but—" Santa raised a hand gently. "Christmas will wait," he said, "for just a little while." The bells in the workshop rang once, uncertain, confused. Mrs. Claus looked at him, surprised. "I need to find something," Santa said, "before Christmas Eve." High above, unseen by anyone, the magic of Christmas shifted. Not breaking, not fading, waiting. Because for the first time in centuries, Santa Claus was about to search for Christmas. Not for the world, but for himself. He sat by the window of his study at the North Pole, watching snow drift slowly past the glass. The world outside was quiet, but inside his chest something felt unsettled, like a bell that refused to ring. For the first time in centuries, Santa Claus felt tired in a way magic could not fix. Earlier that evening, after the elves had finished their work and the reindeer had settled into their stalls, Santa had tried to laugh as usual. He told an old joke, the kind that always made the younger elves giggle. No one laughed. Not because it wasn't funny, but because they could sense something was wrong. Holly, the head elf, exchanged a glance with Mrs. Claus. Santa noticed, and that made it worse. "I think I'll turn in early," Santa said, forcing a smile. Mrs. Claus touched his arm gently. "You've been carrying a lot this year." Santa nodded, but said nothing. Now, alone, Santa opened a familiar drawer in his desk. Inside were letters, thousands of them, sorted carefully, lovingly. But tonight, he wasn't looking for wishes. He was looking for something else. He pulled out a letter written in neat, careful handwriting. Dear Santa, I hope you get some rest this Christmas. You work very hard for everyone. Mila. Santa stared at the words for a long time. When was the last time anyone wished something for me? He whispered. The room felt colder. At dawn, Santa made a decision he had never made before. He left the workshop. Not in his sleigh, not with reindeer, but on foot. Wrapped in a simple red coat without bells or sparkle, Santa walked beyond the familiar borders of the North Pole, past the glowing lights, past the humming magic, into a quiet, snow-covered forest. He needed to remember something. He just didn't know what yet. As Santa walked, memories surfaced. The first toy he ever made. The first child who smiled because of him. The first Christmas he spent giving, and giving, and giving. When did I stop receiving? Santa wondered aloud. The forest did not answer, but it listened. After hours of walking, Santa came upon a small cabin half buried in snow. Smoke curled faintly from its chimney. Someone lived there. Santa hesitated. Then he knocked. An elderly woman opened the door. Her eyes widened in surprise. Not recognition, just curiosity. Yes, she asked kindly. I'm just passing through, Santa said. May I warm myself for a moment? She smiled. Of course. No one should be cold on Christmas week. Inside, the cabin was simple. A fire burned low. A kettle steamed quietly. The woman poured Santa a cup of tea. Do you live alone? Santa asked gently. She nodded. My children are grown. They're busy now. Santa felt a familiar ache. And you? She asked. You look like someone who carries many winters. Santa chuckled softly. That I do. They sat in silence for a moment, sipping tea. Then the woman said something unexpected. You know, she said, Christmas used to be my favorite time. Now I mostly just remember. Santa looked up. Remember what? He asked. Feeling needed, she replied. The words struck Santa like a quiet bell. That night, Santa slept in the cabin. For the first time in many years, he dreamed, not of lists or routes or gifts, but of sitting by a fire, listening to laughter that wasn't asking for anything. When he woke, his beard felt lighter. His heart did too. Before leaving, Santa thanked the woman. You gave me more than warmth, he said. She smiled. Sometimes, she replied, that's all anyone really needs. As Santa stepped back into the snow, something small but important changed. For the first time, Santa wondered, what if Christmas was meant for me too? Far away at the North Pole, the bells above the workshop chimed once, softly, uncertainly. Magic had noticed. Santa sat alone in the quiet kitchen of the North Pole. The fire was lit. The kettle was warm. Everything was exactly as it should be. And yet, Santa felt empty. For weeks now, he had done his work by habit. Lists checked, routes planned, gifts prepared. The elves were cheerful, the reindeer strong, the world ready for Christmas. Everyone was ready. Everyone except Santa. He stared into his cup and whispered, when did I stop feeling it? Earlier that night, Santa had flown out alone. No sleigh, no bells, just to watch. He hovered above cities glowing with lights. He saw families laughing, children hugging their parents, friends exchanging gifts. They were happy. So why wasn't he? Santa landed quietly near a small, snow-covered town square. At the center stood a simple Christmas tree. No ornaments, no lights, just pine needles and snow. Beneath it sat a woman, wrapped in a coat, staring up at the branches.
Santa hesitated, then stepped forward. "Waiting for something?" he asked gently. The woman smiled faintly. "No, just remembering." They sat together in silence. "I used to love Christmas," she said after a while, "but now I mostly make it happen for everyone else." Santa's heart tightened. "I know that feeling," he said. She laughed softly. "You do?" Santa nodded. "More than you think." Back at the North Pole, that conversation echoed in his mind. I mostly make it happen for everyone else. Santa realized something he had never allowed himself to admit. He gave Christmas, but he never received it. The next morning, Santa did something unheard of. He closed the workshop, just for 1 hour. The elves stared in shock. "Is something wrong?" Brindle asked. Santa smiled, tired, honest. "No, something important is missing." He gathered the elves, the reindeer, even Mrs. Claus, and spoke quietly. "I've spent centuries bringing Christmas to the world, but somewhere along the way, I forgot to let Christmas reach me." The room was silent. Then Mrs. Claus took his hand. "Then let us give it back to you," she said. That evening, the North Pole changed, not grandly, gently. Elves told stories instead of working. Reindeer rested by the fire. Someone sang, off-key but sincere. Hot soup was shared. Laughter returned, slow and real. Santa felt it then. Warmth. Not responsibility, not duty, but joy. Tears filled his eyes. "So this is what I was missing," he whispered. High above, Christmas magic glowed brighter, not because Santa was giving, but because Santa was finally receiving.
Santa's journey reminds us that even the most generous hearts can become depleted. It takes courage to acknowledge our own needs and to allow others to nurture us. When we open ourselves to receiving, the magic we give to the world can finally return to illuminate our own lives, making the joy complete. Remember, self-care isn't selfish. It's essential for sustained kindness.